The information provided in this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute professional marketing, legal, or technical advice. While email marketing can be a powerful tool for business growth, results are not universal and depend on numerous variables including industry, audience engagement, and content quality. Integrating third-party software into a WordPress website carries inherent technical risks, including potential site downtime or data security vulnerabilities. Viewers are advised to conduct their own due diligence, consult with a qualified professional before making significant changes to their digital infrastructure, and ensure compliance with data privacy laws such as the GDPR or CCPA. You are currently leaving thousands of dollars on the table every single month because you are treating your WordPress website like a digital brochure rather than a high-conversion sales engine. Statistics from historical industry trends suggest that for every dollar spent on email marketing, the average return on investment is roughly $36. Yet, the vast majority of WordPress users are obsessed with SEO and social media vanity metrics, while their most valuable asset, their email list, sits at zero. If you do not capture a visitor's data the moment they land on your site, there is a 98% chance they will never return. You are essentially pouring water into a leaky bucket. Today we are stopping the leak. We are going to deconstruct the exact technical framework required to turn your WordPress site into a lead generation powerhouse. This is not a surface-level overview. This is a deep dive masterclass into the architecture of integration, from API handshakes to lead magnet placement, ensuring that by the end of this series, you possess a system that works while you sleep. The fundamental problem most creators face today is the disconnect between their content and their conversion. You spend weeks perfecting a blog post or a landing page, you drive traffic through grueling organic efforts, and then you let that traffic evaporate. By integrating email marketing directly into the DNA of your WordPress site, you solve the problem of audience ownership. You no longer rely on the shifting algorithms of social media platforms. You create a direct line of communication with your audience. In this first segment of our masterclass, we are laying the foundation of this integration. We are going to examine why WordPress is the superior choice for this task, and how the synergy between an open-source CMS and a robust email service provider, or ESP, creates a scalable business model. To understand the depth of this integration, we have to look at the mechanics of how WordPress interacts with external databases. When we talk about integration, we aren't just talking about putting a simple contact form on your sidebar. We are talking about deep-level synchronization where user behavior on your site triggers specific automated sequences in your email platform. For instance, consider a case study of a mid-sized e-commerce brand that moved from a static newsletter signup to a behavioral-based WordPress integration. By tracking which categories a user browsed on their WordPress site and passing that data to their email provider via a plugin-driven API, they saw a significant increase in their open rates and subsequent engagement levels. This is the level of sophistication we are aiming for. The first pillar of a successful integration is selecting the right bridge between your site and your list. WordPress offers a plethora of plugins, but not all are created equal. You have dedicated plugins provided by ESPs like MailChimp, Constant Contact, or HubSpot. And then you have agnostic form builders like WP Forms, Gravity Forms, or Ninja Forms. The choice you make here dictates the flexibility of your data collection. A dedicated plugin is often easier to set up, but can be limiting in terms of design and advanced logic. An agnostic form builder, however, allows you to map custom fields to your email provider, enabling you to collect more than just a name and an email address. You can collect user preferences, geographic data, or even specific pain points that then allow you to segment your list from the very first touchpoint. Let's look at the technical requirements for a seamless handshake. Most modern integrations rely on an API, or Application Programming Interface key. This is a unique string of code that allows your WordPress site to talk to your email provider servers securely. When a user enters their information into a form on your site, the WordPress server sends a request to the ESP server. If the API key is valid, the data is transferred, and the user is added to the specified list. However, many beginners overlook the importance of the double opt-in process during this integration. Historically, double opt-in, where a user must confirm their subscription via a follow-up email, has shown to produce higher quality lists with better deliverability rates. Integrating this flow directly through your WordPress settings ensures that your list remains clean and your sender reputation stays intact. Furthermore, we must address the placement strategy within the WordPress ecosystem. A viral-ready site doesn't just have one sign-up form. It has multiple strategic entry points that cater to different user intents. You have the global header or ribbon, which offers a broad value proposition. You have the in-content opt-in, which targets users who are already engaged with your long-form writing. Then you have the exit intent pop-up, a powerful tool that uses JavaScript to detect when a user is about to leave the page, offering one last piece of value to keep them in your ecosystem. Each of these requires a specific type of integration. For example, in-content forms often perform best when they are styled to match the native look and feel of your WordPress theme, making them feel like a natural extension of the article rather than a jarring advertisement. To illustrate the potential outcomes of a properly integrated system, let's consider the concept of a lead magnet. A lead magnet is a high-value asset, like a PDF guide, a checklist, or a video case study, that you give away in exchange for an email address. The integration challenge here is the delivery. If your WordPress site is not correctly synced with your email automation, the user might wait minutes or hours for their reward, leading to immediate distrust. A professional-grade integration ensures that the moment the WordPress form is submitted, the ESP triggers an instant, welcome automation that delivers the asset. This requires a precise configuration of tags or segments within your WordPress plugin settings to tell the ESP exactly which automation to fire. We also need to discuss the data privacy aspect of this integration. Since you are operating on a US-centric channel, you might be targeting global audiences. This means your WordPress integration must be compliant. You cannot simply scrape emails. You need clear logged consent. Professional WordPress form plugins allow you to add a mandatory checkbox for terms and conditions or privacy policy agreement, which is then stored as metadata alongside the subscriber's record. This level of detail is what separates a hobbyist site from a professional business entity. As we move forward in this masterclass, keep in mind that the technical setup is only half the battle. The other half is the strategy behind what you do with those emails once they are in your system. However, without a rock-solid WordPress integration, you have no system to speak of. You are essentially a landlord who hasn't put locks on the doors. We are building those locks today, and we are making sure they are gold-plated. We will dive into the specific plugins that offer the best balance of speed and functionality, ensuring that your integration doesn't slow down your site's load time, which we know is a critical factor for both user experience and SEO rankings. We will look at how to use hooks and filters within WordPress to customize the data flow, and how to troubleshoot common API errors that can lead to lost leads. This is the beginning of your journey toward total audience ownership and a resilient digital presence. To truly master the integration of email marketing into your WordPress ecosystem in 2026, you must first understand the landscape of modern data acquisition. Imagine a creator named Sarah from Austin, Texas. Sarah runs a high-traffic WordPress site dedicated to sustainable home tech. For years, she relied on a generic sidebar opt-in that simply said "subscribe to my newsletter." Despite having 50,000 monthly visitors, Sarah was only capturing about 10 leads a week. That is a conversion rate so low it is practically invisible. The problem Sarah faced is what we call lead blindness. In a world where every user is bombarded with requests for their data, a generic ask is a death sentence for your growth. Sarah's turnaround happened when she stopped looking at her email list as a bucket and started looking at it as a segmented database driven by WordPress metadata. The first technical hurdle you will encounter when moving beyond the basics is the selection of your integration method. You have two primary paths: the native plugin route and the API bridge route. Most beginners gravitate toward native plugins provided by companies like MailChimp or ConvertKit. These are essentially pre-built connectors that you install from the WordPress repository. While they are user-friendly, they often come with significant overhead. Every plugin you add to your WordPress site increases the number of HTTP requests and can potentially bloat your database. Historical trends in web performance suggest that for every additional second your site takes to load, you could lose up to 7% of your conversions. In 2026, where Google's core web vitals are more stringent than ever, you cannot afford a slow integration. This brings us to the more advanced, performance-optimized method, using a lightweight form builder that connects via a webhook or a direct API call. Let's break down the step-by-step logic of a webhook integration. Unlike a standard plugin that constantly checks for updates and communicates back and forth with a server, a webhook is a one-way notification. When Sarah's visitor fills out a form, WordPress immediately pushes that data to a specific URL provided by her email service provider. There is no middleman and no unnecessary background processing. This keeps the site speed lightning fast while ensuring data integrity. To execute this, you would typically use a tool like Gravity Forms or WP Forms Pro. Within the settings of your form, you navigate to the Integrations or Add-ons section. You select the webhooks option and paste the URL provided by your email platform. But here is where the deep dive begins. You must map your fields correctly. If Sarah wants to know not just the user's email, but also if they are interested in solar power versus smart appliances, she creates a hidden field in WordPress that captures the category of the post the user is currently reading. This data point is then sent through the webhook as a tag. When that lead hits her email platform, they aren't just a random subscriber. They are a solar-interested lead. This allows Sarah to send a targeted automated sequence that has a much higher historical trend of engagement compared to a general blast. Now let's talk about the psychological layer of integration, the lead magnet delivery system. Imagine if a user named Michael from Chicago finds your site. He sees an offer for a free technical blueprint for a DIY home server. He enters his email and hits submit. In a poorly integrated system, Michael has to wait for a manual sync or a slow cron job to trigger the email. By the time the email arrives 10 minutes later, Michael has moved on to a different tab, a different video, or a different thought. You have lost the window of peak interest. A professional WordPress integration utilizes the Admin Ajax functionality to process the form in the background without refreshing the page. This allows you to show an immediate success message on the screen, while simultaneously triggering an instant API call to your email provider. The historical data on immediate gratification in digital marketing is clear. Users who receive their promised content within the first 60 seconds of signing up have a significantly higher lifetime value and open rate for subsequent emails. To achieve this, you need to ensure your WordPress hosting environment is optimized for outgoing API requests. Some low-end shared hosting providers limit the number of external connections or have slow DNS lookups, which can delay the handshake between WordPress and your email service. If you are serious about this masterclass, you should be looking at managed WordPress hosting or a VPS where you have control over the PHP execution limits. Another critical component of your 2026 strategy is the integration of zero-party data. This is data that the user intentionally and proactively shares with you. Within your WordPress forms, you can integrate conditional logic. For example, if a user selects "I am a business owner," the form can dynamically expand to ask for their company size. This information is passed to your email marketing tool, allowing for hyper-segmentation. Case studies from top-tier US digital firms show that segmented campaigns often see a 760% increase in revenue compared to non-segmented ones. This is not about luck. It is about the structural integrity of your WordPress setup. You must also consider the visual integration. A form that looks like a third-party widget stuck onto a page will always perform worse than a native-looking element. Use the WordPress block editor or a page builder like Elementor to style your forms using your theme's global CSS variables. This ensures that the typography, spacing, and button styles are identical to the rest of your site. This creates a sense of trust and continuity. If the form looks like it belongs on the site, the user feels safer entering their sensitive information. But what happens when the integration fails? This is a reality many gurus ignore. API keys expire, servers go down, and plugins conflict. A professional setup includes an integration log. Most high-end WordPress form plugins have a logging feature that records every submission and the response from the email provider's API. If an error occurs, the data is saved locally in your WordPress database, allowing you to manually export and upload those leads once the connection is restored. This failsafe is what prevents a minor technical glitch from turning into a total loss of potential outcomes for your business. We also have to address the emerging trend of AI-driven opt-ins in 2026. Some advanced WordPress integrations now allow for dynamic form fields based on a user's previous behavior on the site, tracked via a cookie or a local storage key. If the system knows the user has visited the pricing page 3 times, the WordPress form can automatically switch from a general newsletter sign-up to a request a quote or book a demo call to action. This level of dynamic integration is the future of the platform. As we wrap up this deep dive into the foundational connectivity, we have to look at the next major hurdle. You have the form, you have the API connection, and you have the data flowing. But how do you ensure that these emails actually reach the inbox and don't get swallowed by the spam folder? And more importantly, how do you track exactly which blog post on your WordPress site is responsible for the most revenue-generating subscribers? These are the questions of attribution and deliverability. In the next part, we are going to crack open the hood on SMTP servers and tracking pixels to see exactly how the data moves through the invisible layers of the internet. You have built the bridge. Now it is time to make sure the traffic can cross it without getting lost in the fog. The fog we are talking about is the dreaded spam folder, and it is the silent killer of WordPress email integrations. To understand why this happens, you have to understand a fundamental flaw in the way WordPress was built. By default, WordPress uses a PHP function called mail to send notifications, password resets, and form submissions. This function is notoriously unreliable because it originates from your web server, not a dedicated email server. Most major email providers like Gmail, Outlook, and Apple Mail see these PHP mail requests as unauthenticated, high-risk communications. Historical trends show that emails sent through the default WordPress mailer have an incredibly high failure rate, often never even reaching the spam folder, but being dropped entirely at the server level. Imagine a user named David from Seattle who just spent 20 minutes reading your latest guide on your WordPress site. He is excited, he enters his email for your exclusive toolkit, and he hits submit. On your end, the WordPress dashboard says the entry was successful, but David sits there staring at an empty inbox. He checks his junk folder. Nothing. Because your server does not have the proper reputation, the email was blocked before it even arrived. This is a catastrophic failure of integration. To fix this, we must replace the default PHP mailer with an SMTP, or Simple Mail Transfer Protocol integration. In 2026, the standard for professional WordPress sites is to use a dedicated SMTP plugin like WP Mail SMTP or Post SMTP. But simply installing the plugin is not enough. You need to connect it to a transactional email service provider such as SendGrid, Mailgun, or Amazon SES. These services are built specifically for deliverability. When you send an email through these providers, you are leveraging their high reputation IP addresses. This transition is not just a technical preference, it is a business necessity. Case studies from small businesses in the US have shown that switching from PHP mail to a dedicated SMTP service can improve email arrival rates from under 60% to over 99%. The step-by-step process for this integration involves a deep dive into your DNS, or domain name system, settings. This is where many creators get intimidated, but it is the bedrock of your authority. To verify your integration, you must configure 3 specific records: SPF, DKIM, and MARC. SPF, or Sender Policy Framework, is a text record in your DNS that lists the specific servers allowed to send email on behalf of your domain. If a server not on that list tries to send an email, it is flagged as a forgery. DKIM, or Domain Keys Identified Mail, adds a digital signature to your emails, proving that the content has not been tampered with in transit. Finally, DMARC, which stands for Domain-Based Message Authentication, Reporting, and Conformance, tells receiving servers what to do if an email fails the first 2 tests. In 2026, major providers have tightened these requirements, making them mandatory for anyone sending more than a few thousand emails a day. Let's look at a scenario involving a creator named Jessica, who runs a WordPress-based educational platform in Miami. Jessica was using a basic integration but noticed her open rates were plummeting. After a technical audit, she realized her DMARC policy was non-existent, causing her legitimate transactional emails, the ones delivering her digital products, to be rejected by her customers' ISPs. By correctly configuring her DNS records within her hosting provider like Bluehost or SiteGround, and linking them to a dedicated SMTP service, she restored her deliverability. This meant her WordPress site was finally communicating reliably with her audience. But integration goes beyond just sending the email. It is about tracking the journey. This is where we move into the world of tracking pixels and attribution. When a lead is captured on your WordPress site, you need to know exactly where they came from. Was it a specific blog post about WordPress plugins? Was it a landing page driven by a social media ad? Or was it a guest post link? Professional integration involves passing UTM parameters, tags added to the end of a URL, from the browser into your WordPress form, and ultimately into your email provider. Imagine if every time someone signed up, your email list didn't just show their name, but also the specific keyword they searched for on Google to find you. This is possible through hidden fields in your WordPress forms. You can use JavaScript to capture the UTM source, medium, and campaign from the URL, and inject those values into the form submission. When the data reaches your email platform, You can run reports to see which content is actually driving the highest value subscribers. Historical data from digital marketing firms suggest that businesses that track attribution this way can optimize their content strategy to increase lead quality by over 40%. Furthermore, we need to discuss the integration of a tracking pixel, such as the Meta Pixel or the Google Tag Manager, alongside your email sign-up process. When a user submits a form on your WordPress site, you should trigger a conversion event. This tells your advertising platforms that a specific user has become a lead. By syncing this data with your email integration, you can create a closed-loop system. For instance, if a user is already on your email list, you can tell your WordPress site to hide the sign-up forms for them, improving their user experience and potentially showing them a different offer instead, like a product discount or a webinar registration. In 2026, we are also seeing a massive shift towards server-side tracking. Client-side tracking, which relies on the user's browser, is becoming less reliable due to ad blockers and privacy updates. By integrating your WordPress email forms with a server-side tracking setup, you ensure that the data is sent directly from your server to the tracking platform, bypassing the browser's limitations. This results in much cleaner data and more accurate attribution. Let's consider the technical debt of poor integration. If you use 5 different plugins for 5 different forms, you are creating a nightmare for your tracking and deliverability. The goal of a masterclass integration is a unified system. One form provider, one SMTP provider, and one centralized way of handling data. This reduces the risk of plugin conflicts, which historical trends show are responsible for nearly 30% of all WordPress site crashes. As you sit here in 2026 looking at your WordPress dashboard, you need to ask yourself if your current setup is built for the future or if it is held together by digital duct tape. Are you confident that every single person who wants to hear from you is actually getting your messages? Are you able to pinpoint exactly which paragraph of your latest blog post triggered a sign-up? If the answer is no, you haven't finished the integration process yet. We have covered the handshake, the delivery, and the tracking, but there is a massive piece of the puzzle we haven't touched yet: the user experience after they hit that submit button. Most people send their new subscribers to a generic thank you page, or worse, just show a small line of text that says thanks for subscribing. This is a wasted opportunity of epic proportions. In the next part of this series, we are going to dive into the high-conversion world of custom redirect pages and how to use WordPress to build a thank you page that actually moves the needle. We will talk about how to use the data you just captured to personalize that page in real time, creating a seamless transition from a stranger to a loyal fan. The bridge is built, the traffic is flowing, and now it is time to build the destination that keeps them coming back for more. The moment a user clicks that submit button on your WordPress site, a psychological window opens that lasts for exactly 60 to 90 seconds. In the industry, we call this the honeymoon phase of the lead lifecycle. Historically, this is the point of highest engagement and highest trust. Yet, the vast majority of WordPress users waste this golden window by showing a generic, unstyled confirmation message that says your submission was successful. This is a technical and strategic failure. To truly integrate your email marketing like a professional in 2026, you must utilize the custom redirect functionality within your WordPress form plugin. Instead of a message, you must send them to a dedicated, high-value thank you page that acts as the second step of your funnel. Imagine a user named Brandon from Denver. Brandon is an aspiring software developer who just signed up for your WordPress newsletter because you offered a free cheat sheet on Python syntax. The second Brandon hits submit, he is redirected to a custom WordPress page designed specifically for new Python students. This page doesn't just say thanks. It provides a 3-minute video of you explaining how to use the cheat sheet he just requested. This immediate delivery of value reinforces his decision to give you his email address. Case studies of top-tier US digital creators show that using a video-based thank you page can increase downstream email open rates by up to 25%, because you have established a human connection before they even open their inbox. The technical execution of this in WordPress is straightforward but requires attention to detail. Within your form settings, whether you are using Gravity Forms, WP Forms, or Elementor Forms, you will find a tab usually labeled Confirmations or Actions after Submit. You must change the type from text to redirect. But here is the advanced tip. You should use query strings to pass data from the form to the thank you page. For example, if you capture Brandon's first name, your redirect URL could look like yoursite.com/thanks/first_name=Brandon. With a simple piece of PHP or a lightweight plugin like URL Perms, you can make your WordPress thank you page say thanks for joining Brandon. In 2026, this level of personalization is no longer a luxury. It is the standard for high-retention digital experiences. Furthermore, your thank you page serves a critical technical purpose in your email integration. It acts as a secondary confirmation of lead quality. You can place a specific conversion pixel on this page that only fires when a user reaches it. This allows your WordPress site to communicate back to your advertising platforms, such as Google Ads or Meta, that a high-quality lead has been acquired. If you only track the button click, you might be tracking bots or accidental clicks. By tracking the page load of a unique redirect URL, you ensure your data is clean. This data integrity is what allows you to scale your traffic based on historical trends of successful conversions. Now let's talk about the concept of the bridge offer. Imagine if Brandon, while waiting for his Python cheat sheet to arrive in his email, sees a limited-time invitation on your thank you page to join a free community or a low-stakes webinar. This is not about a hard sell. It is about deepening the integration between your site's content and your audience's journey. Since your WordPress site already knows Brandon is interested in Python, you can use conditional blocks to show him a Python-specific offer while showing a different user who signed up for a JavaScript guide a JavaScript-specific offer. This is the power of a dynamic WordPress ecosystem. Another vital element of the thank you page is the instruction phase. Because of the deliverability issues we discussed in the previous segment, you should use this page to tell your users exactly what to do next. Show a screenshot of what your email will look like in their inbox. Instruct them to check their promotions folder or their spam folder, and to drag your email into their primary tab. This manual whitelist instruction is one of the most effective ways to bypass the aggressive filtering algorithms used by major providers in 2026. You are essentially training the user's email client to recognize your WordPress sent communications as high priority. We must also consider the mobile experience of this integration. Over 70% of WordPress traffic in the United States currently comes from mobile devices. If your redirect page takes 5 seconds to load on a 5G connection, Brandon has already closed the tab. You need to ensure that your thank you pages are stripped of heavy elements. Use the native WordPress block editor to keep the code clean and lightweight. Avoid heavy background videos or unoptimized images. The goal is a seamless, instantaneous transition that feels like a natural part of the application flow. Let's look at a case study of a boutique fitness brand based in Los Angeles. They integrated their WordPress site with their email provider, but were seeing a massive drop-off between the sign-up and the actual engagement with their first 3 emails. By implementing a custom redirect page that included a 3-step checklist, Step 1, check your email. Step 2, join our private group. Step 3, fill out your fitness profile, they saw a 40% increase in profile completion. The WordPress site wasn't just collecting emails. It was guiding the user through a deliberate onboarding process. This is the difference between a static site and a dynamic business engine. Beyond the thank you page, professional integration in 2026 involves the use of push notifications and browser-based triggers that complement your email marketing. While email is the core, you can use your WordPress site to ask for permission to send browser alerts if an email goes unopened. This creates a multi-channel integration. If your email service provider's API reports that a specific user hasn't opened the last 3 emails, your WordPress site can be configured to show a notification bar the next time that user visits, saying, "We missed you. Did you get our latest guide?" This requires a deep level of synchronization between your user database and your ESP, often achieved through tools like Zapier or Make, which act as the glue between WordPress and your marketing stack. As we progress through this masterclass, we have to address a common fear: that all this technical setup will make the site too complex to manage. The reality is that once these systems are integrated, they require very little maintenance. You are building a digital machine. However, the machine is only as good as the content you feed into it. You can have the best redirect pages and the most accurate API calls, but if the actual emails you send are boring or irrelevant, the entire system collapses. This leads us to the next massive pillar of our strategy. We have mastered the technical handshake, the deliverability protocols, and the post-sign-up user experience. Now, we have to look at the automated sequences themselves. How do you use WordPress to trigger specific, time-based emails that feel personal rather than robotic? How do you ensure that your WordPress site is constantly updating your email provider with the latest user behavior data, so your automations stay relevant? In the next part, we are going to dive into the world of behavioral triggers and drip campaigns, We will see how a simple visit to a specific page on your WordPress site can trigger a multi-day email sequence that feels like it was written specifically for that user at that exact moment. The machine is built. Now it is time to give it a brain. Giving the machine a brain means moving beyond the one-off email and into the realm of behavioral automation. In 2026, the most successful WordPress integrations are those that treat every click, scroll, and page view as a piece of actionable intelligence. Imagine a business owner named Marcus from Atlanta, who runs a WordPress site specializing in high-end cybersecurity training. Marcus has thousands of visitors, but his previous setup only sent a generic welcome email. This is the equivalent of a store clerk saying hello, and then walking into the back room forever. By giving his site a brain, Marcus transformed his WordPress environment into a responsive sales assistant that knows exactly what each visitor is interested in before they even realize it themselves. To achieve this, we have to look at the technical implementation of site tracking scripts provided by your email service provider. Whether you use HubSpot, ActiveCampaign, or Klaviyo, these platforms provide a lightweight JavaScript snippet. You do not just paste this into your footer and hope for the best. You integrate it deeply into your WordPress theme using a hook in your functions.php file or a dedicated header and footer plugin. This script allows your email platform to identify returning subscribers. When a user who is already on your list visits your WordPress site, the site recognizes them. This is where the magic happens. Let us look at a case study of a mid-sized US software company that used this exact method. They noticed that a significant portion of their audience would visit their pricing page but never sign up for a trial. By integrating their WordPress site behavior with their email automation, they set up a browse abandonment trigger. If a known subscriber visited the pricing page twice in 48 hours without making a purchase, the WordPress site signaled the email platform to send a helpful, non-intrusive email titled, "Do you have questions about our enterprise tier?" Historical trends in 2026 show that these behavioral-triggered emails can have open rates as high as 70%, compared to the 15% average of standard newsletters. This is not about being creepy. It is about being relevant at the exact moment the user is making a decision. The step-by-step logic for setting this up involves mapping your WordPress categories to your email tags. If Marcus writes a blog post about cloud security and assigns it the category cloud, he can use a WordPress automation plugin like Uncanny Automator or WP Fusion. These plugins act as a translation layer. You set a rule that says, if a user views a post in the category cloud, add the tag interested in cloud to their profile in the email service provider. Now Marcus no longer sends a general weekly update. He sends a specialized sequence about cloud security only to the people who have actually demonstrated an interest in it. This leads us into the architecture of the multi-day drip campaign. A drip campaign is a series of pre-written emails that are sent over a period of time. But in a masterclass integration, these aren't just timed. They are conditional. Let us imagine if a user named Elena from Seattle signs up for Marcus's free guide on firewall configuration. The moment she hits the WordPress redirect page we built in the last segment, the first email is triggered. This is day 0. But day 1 shouldn't just be another random tip. It should be a follow-up to her specific action. If the WordPress site reports that Elena has already downloaded the guide, day 1's email might ask her if she had trouble with step 3. If the site reports she hasn't clicked the download link in the first email, day 1's email is a reminder to grab the guide. This level of detail requires you to understand the concept of a synchronization interval. Your WordPress site and your email provider need to be in constant communication. Historically, many integrations relied on a daily sync, which is far too slow for 2026. You need real-time or near real-time synchronization. This is achieved through the WordPress REST API. When an action occurs on your site, an API call is made instantly. For example, if Elena completes a quiz on your WordPress site using a plugin like LearnDash or Thrive Quiz Builder, the results are pushed to her email profile immediately. This allows you to segment your list based on her knowledge level. If she scores a 90%, she gets advanced content. If she scores a 40%, she gets a foundational email series to help her catch up. Let's expand on the psychological power of the 5-day welcome sequence. Day 1 is the asset delivery and the establishment of authority. Day 2 is the case study day. Imagine if Marcus sends an email featuring a student who used his WordPress-based courses to land a job at a major US tech firm. This provides social proof. Day 3 is the objection handling day. Use the data from your WordPress comments or frequently asked questions to answer the most common hurdles your audience faces. Day 4 is the deep dive. where you provide a piece of content so valuable that the user would have expected to pay for it. Finally, day 5 is the transition to the offer. Because you have used your WordPress integration to track their engagement throughout the week, you know exactly which version of the offer to show them. We must also discuss the role of custom post types in this integration. Many advanced WordPress sites use custom post types for things like portfolios, testimonials, or products. You can configure your email integration to trigger specific sequences based on which custom post type a user spends the most time on. If a user spends 10 minutes looking at your portfolio but doesn't fill out a contact form, you can trigger an email that says, "Love the work we did for our recent clients? Here is a behind-the-scenes look at our process." This is how you use your WordPress site structure to inform your marketing strategy. The potential outcomes of this behavioral-based approach are significant. You are essentially creating a personalized experience for every single visitor. While a static site treats everyone the same, your integrated WordPress site treats everyone like an individual. Case studies from US-based e-commerce brands have shown that this type of personalization can lead to a 300% increase in customer lifetime value. You aren't just selling once. You are building a relationship based on observed data. But there is a technical trap you must avoid: over-tagging. If you create a new tag for every single page a user visits, your email database will become a cluttered mess of unusable data. A professional integration uses a hierarchical tagging system. Use broad tags like tech interest or business interest, and then use custom fields for specific details. This keeps your data clean and your automations easy to manage. You want to be able to look at your email provider and see a clear picture of who your subscribers are and what they want from your WordPress site. As we conclude this deep dive into the brain of your integration, we have to look at the next logical step. You have the forms, you have the deliverability, you have the tracking, and you have the automated sequences. But how do you know if any of it is actually working? How do you move beyond open rates and click rates to see the real impact on your business? In the next part, we are going to explore the world of advanced analytics and conversion optimization. We will look at how to use WordPress to A/B test your sign-up forms in real time, and how to read the data that tells you exactly where your funnel is leaking. You have given your machine a brain. Now it is time to give it a set of eyes so it can see its own mistakes and fix them before they cost you a single lead. The transition from data collection to data optimization is where the true experts are made. The transition from being a data collector to a data scientist within your own WordPress dashboard is what defines the elite tier of digital marketers in 2026. Imagine a creator named Tyler from Seattle. Tyler has spent months building his WordPress site dedicated to high-end photography gear. He has his API keys connected, his SMTP delivery is flawless, and his automated sequences are firing. On paper, everything is perfect. But Tyler is frustrated because despite his traffic increasing, his subscriber growth has hit a plateau. He is essentially flying a sophisticated aircraft in total darkness because he lacks a feedback loop. He has the machine and the brain, but he lacks the eyes to see where the friction is occurring. This is where advanced analytics and conversion rate optimization, or CRO, become the most critical components of your integration. To give your WordPress site eyes, we must first discuss the technical implementation of A/B testing directly within your site's architecture. In 2026, you should not be making design decisions based on gut feelings or aesthetic preferences. You should be using historical trends and real-time data. For instance, Tyler might think a bright red sign-up button looks best on his dark-themed photography blog. However, an A/B test might reveal that a muted forest green button, which matches his brand's secondary color, results in a 15% higher conversion rate. This is because color theory and user psychology are often counterintuitive. The step-by-step process for integrating A/B testing into WordPress involves using tools like Google Optimized Successors or native WordPress plugins like Thrive Optimize or Neilio A/B testing. These tools allow you to create two versions of the same landing page or the same sign-up form. Version A is your control, and version B is your challenger. You might change only one variable, such as the headline. For example, version A says subscribe for photography tips, while version B says download the 2026 camera buying guide. The plugin then splits your incoming WordPress traffic 50-50 between these two versions. Within a week, the data will tell you with statistical significance which headline resonates more with your specific audience. Case studies from US-based SaaS companies have shown that simple headline changes can lead to potential outcomes like a 30% increase in lead acquisition without spending an extra dollar on traffic. But the eyes of your system go deeper than just button colors. You need to understand the concept of form field friction. Every time you ask a visitor for a piece of information, you are asking them to pay a price in time and privacy. If Tyler's form asks for a name, email, city, and professional level, he might find that users are dropping off at the city field. By integrating form analytics, which you can find in premium versions of WP Forms or via custom events in Google Analytics 4, you can see exactly which field is the bottleneck. In 2026, the trend is toward minimal friction. Historical data suggests that reducing a form from 4 fields to 2 can nearly double your conversion rate. You can always collect more data later through the automated sequences we built in the previous segment, but the initial integration must be as frictionless as possible. Furthermore, we must address the integration of heat maps and session recordings. Tools like Microsoft Clarity or Hotjar can be easily integrated into WordPress via a simple script in the header. These tools allow you to watch recordings of how users interact with your sign-up forms. You might discover that on mobile devices, Tyler's exit intent pop-up is appearing too early and covering the navigation menu, causing users to leave in frustration rather than signing up. Or you might see that users are scrolling right past his in-content form because it looks too much like an advertisement. This qualitative data is the missing link in most WordPress integrations. It tells you the why behind the numbers in your email provider's dashboard. Now let's look at the integration of Google Analytics 4, or GA4, with your WordPress email events. This is the gold standard for attribution in 2026. When someone signs up for your list, your WordPress site should send a custom event to GA4 called generate_lead. But a professional integration doesn't stop there. You should also pass parameters that tell you the traffic source, the specific blog post they were reading, and even the time of day. This allows you to build a report that shows you exactly which content on your WordPress site is your most valuable asset. Imagine if Tyler discovers that while his gear reviews get the most traffic, his behind-the-scenes tutorials are responsible for 80% of his email signups. This insight allows him to pivot his content strategy to focus on what actually drives growth, rather than just chasing vanity metrics like page views. We also need to discuss the technicality of the thank you page conversion. As we discussed in Part 4, the thank you page is a critical destination. From an analytical perspective, this is where your conversion is officially recorded. By placing a specific tracking script on this page that only fires once per user, you prevent your data from being skewed by people who refresh the page. This clean data is what allows you to calculate your cost per lead accurately. If you are running paid ads to your WordPress site, this integration is the difference between a scalable business and a financial drain. Another advanced technique in 2026 is the use of predictive analytics via your WordPress user data. Some high-end integration tools can now analyze the behavior of your subscribers on your site and assign a lead score. If a subscriber visits your site 3 times in a week and reads 5 articles, their lead score increases. Your WordPress site can then pass this score to your email provider, triggering a high-priority automation. This is the peak of behavioral integration. You are no longer just sending emails. You are responding to the digital body language of your audience. Let's consider a scenario with a character named Maya from Chicago. Maya runs a professional development blog on WordPress. She integrated a lead scoring system and found that users who reached a score of 50 were significantly more likely to purchase her premium workshop. By focusing her email marketing efforts specifically on those high-scoring leads, she saw a dramatic improvement in her engagement metrics. This didn't require more work. It required better data integration. But with all this data comes the responsibility of security and speed. Every tracking script you add to WordPress has the potential to slow down the site. In 2026, the most effective way to manage this is through Google Tag Manager, or GTM. By integrating GTM into your WordPress site, you can manage all your tracking pixels and analytics scripts from a single container. This keeps your WordPress code clean and allows you to fire scripts asynchronously, meaning they won't block the rest of your site from loading. A fast site is a high-converting site. Historical trends consistently show that even a fractional delay in load time can negatively impact your conversion rate. As we wrap up this deep dive into the eyes of your integration, you should realize that data is not just about numbers, it is about empathy. By looking at the analytics, you are listening to what your visitors are telling you without them having to say a word. You are identifying their pain points, their interests, and their barriers to entry. You are refining the bridge you built so that it becomes the smoothest path possible for them to follow. However, even the most optimized system in the world is useless if you don't have a plan for long-term retention. You have the leads, you have the data, and you have the tracking. But how do you keep them engaged for months or even years? How do you prevent people from unsubscribing as quickly as they signed up? In the next part of this masterclass, we are going to tackle the art and science of the long-term nurture sequence. We will look at how to use your WordPress site to constantly refresh your email content and how to automate the maintenance of a clean, high-responding list. The eyes have shown us the way in. Now we must build the house they never want to leave. Building the house they never want to leave is where we transition from short-term lead acquisition to long-term audience retention. In 2026, the biggest mistake a WordPress site owner can make is thinking the job is done once the welcome sequence ends. Imagine a creator named Emily from Columbus, Ohio. Emily spent weeks perfecting her WordPress site for a high-end interior design consultancy. She captured thousands of leads through a beautiful lead magnet about modern minimalist living. But after the initial 5 emails, she went silent. When she finally sent a manual broadcast 3 months later, her open rates were less than 5%, and her bounce rate was high enough to get her account flagged. This is the phenomenon of lead decay. Without a continuous bridge between your WordPress content and your subscribers' inboxes, your list becomes a liability rather than an asset. To prevent this, you must integrate your WordPress content engine directly into your long-term nurture strategy using RSS to email automation. This is not the old-school, ugly automated emails of a decade ago. In 2026, sophisticated integrations allow you to pull your latest WordPress posts into beautifully branded email templates automatically. The technical process involves using your site's RSS feed, usually found at yourdomain.com/feed, and connecting it to your email service provider's recurring broadcast tool. But here is the deep dive secret. You should not just send every post. You should use category-specific feeds. If Emily writes a post about kitchen renovations, her WordPress site generates a specific feed for that category. By integrating this specific feed with a segmented list of users who have expressed interest in kitchens, the relevance of her emails remains at an all-time high. Historical trends in digital marketing show that personalized, automated content delivery results in significantly higher lifetime engagement than generic weekly newsletters. The step-by-step logic here is to set up a trigger in your email platform that checks your WordPress RSS feed every Tuesday at 10 a.m. If a new post exists in the kitchen category, the platform pulls the featured image, the excerpt, and the permalink from your WordPress database and sends it to the filtered segment of your list. This ensures that your subscribers are always getting fresh, relevant value without you having to manually draft a single email. You are essentially turning your WordPress blog into a self-distributing media house. However, a house is only as good as its foundation, and in email marketing, that foundation is list hygiene. In 2026, major email providers like Gmail and Outlook have implemented even stricter engagement-based filtering. If your WordPress site is pumping emails to people who haven't opened them in 6 months, it signals to the algorithms that you are sending low-value content. This can drag down your deliverability for your entire list. This is where you must integrate an automated sunset policy. This is a technical sequence that identifies inactive subscribers and either re-engages them or removes them entirely. Let us look at a case study of a mid-sized US publishing brand that utilized a WordPress integrated sunset policy. They had a list of 100,000 subscribers, but noticed their click-through rates were declining. They set up an automation that tracked the last time a subscriber visited their WordPress site, using the site tracking scripts we discussed in Part 5. If a subscriber had not visited the site or opened an email in 90 days, a 3-part re-engagement sequence was triggered. The first email was a simple "We miss you. Is this still relevant?" The second offered a unique, high-value piece of content only available on a hidden WordPress page. If there was still no activity after the third email, the integration automatically unsubscribed them. Potential outcomes of this aggressive cleaning included a 40% increase in overall open rates and a significant improvement in their sender reputation. You must also consider the integration of user-generated content from your WordPress site into your emails. If you have a robust comment section or a community forum on your site, you can use plugins like GamiPress or BuddyBoss to track engagement. You can integrate these triggers so that when a user reaches a certain level of activity on your WordPress site, they receive a special badge or a bonus content offer via email. This creates a gamified feedback loop. The more they interact with your site, the more value they get in their inbox, which in turn drives them back to the site. This is the definition of a high-retention ecosystem. Now, imagine if your WordPress site could predict when a user is about to lose interest. In 2026, Advanced integrations allow for churn probability scoring. By analyzing the frequency of visits to your site, your WordPress analytics can flag a user whose visit frequency has dropped by 50%. This data point is pushed to your email marketing tool, which then triggers a high-priority nurture sequence designed to pull them back in before they churn. This is proactive retention, and it is only possible when your WordPress site and your email provider are sharing data in real time. Another layer of this deep dive is the use of dynamic content blocks within your automated nurture emails. Instead of sending the same email to everyone, your WordPress integration can tell the email provider to show different blocks of content based on the user's WordPress metadata. If a user is logged into your site and has a specific user role, like Gold Member, the email they receive from your automated RSS feed can include a special footer with a member-only discount code. If they are a standard subscriber, they see a different footer encouraging them to upgrade. This level of technical sophistication ensures that every touchpoint feels custom-built for the individual. We also have to discuss the importance of the technical handshake during the unsubscribe process. In 2026, a standard unsubscribe link is a missed opportunity. Your WordPress site should host a custom preference center page. When a user clicks unsubscribe, they are taken to a page on your site where they can choose to opt down rather than opt out. They might want to hear from you once a month instead of once a week, or they might only want to hear about specific topics. By integrating this preference center with your email provider's API, you can retain subscribers who were simply overwhelmed by the frequency of your content. Case studies show that offering an opt-down preference center can reduce total unsubscribes by up to 30%. As we look toward the final stages of this masterclass, you should be seeing the full picture. Your WordPress site is not just a place where you host text and images. It is the command center for your entire marketing strategy. It is the source of the data, the engine of the content, and the destination for the audience. You have built a system that acquires, tracks, and now nurtures leads with surgical precision. But even with all this automation, there is one final frontier we haven't fully explored: the human element in the age of machines. How do you ensure that your automated system doesn't lose its soul? How do you maintain a high-touch feel when your WordPress site is doing 90% of the heavy lifting? And most importantly, how do you protect this entire infrastructure from the rising threats of data breaches and evolving privacy laws in 2026? In the next part, we are going to dive into the high-stakes world of security, privacy integration, and the ethical use of AI-generated content within your WordPress email workflows. You have built the house. Now it is time to install the security system and the life within it. The transition from a technical builder to a trusted authority is where your influence truly scales. The security system of your WordPress email integration is not just a digital lock on the front door. It is the fundamental protocol that ensures your data remains your most valuable asset rather than your greatest liability. In 2026, the stakes of data security have shifted from simple password protection to the complex management of encrypted API handshakes and sovereign data control. Imagine a creator named Alex from New York. Alex runs a high-traffic WordPress site that focuses on financial literacy and career advancement. For months, Alex was using a mid-tier integration plugin to sync his 5,000 subscribers with his email service provider. However, Alex made a common but critical error. He stored his master API key in a plain text configuration file accessible through the WordPress dashboard. This is the equivalent of leaving the keys to a vault under a welcome mat. When a legacy plugin on Alex's site was compromised through a cross-site scripting vulnerability, the attackers didn't just deface his homepage. They scraped his entire subscriber database and hijacked his API connection to send phishing emails to his list. The historical trends of such breaches in the US show that recovering from a reputation hit of this magnitude takes years, not months. To avoid this, your integration must follow the principle of least privilege. This is a technical step-by-step approach where you never use a master API key for a simple WordPress form. Instead, you generate scoped API keys that only have permission to add new subscribers to a specific list. They cannot delete data, they cannot export your list, and they cannot change your account settings. By restricting the scope of the key within your email provider's developer settings before you ever paste it into WordPress, you create a failsafe that protects your entire ecosystem, even if one entry point is compromised. Furthermore, we must address the legal and ethical landscape of 2026. Data privacy is no longer a suggestion. It is a complex web of state and federal regulations, from the evolved versions of the California Consumer Privacy Act to the latest federal data protection standards. Your WordPress site is the primary point of collection, which makes it the legal record keeper. A professional integration requires a consent logging system. It is not enough to have a checkbox that says I agree to the terms. In a masterclass setup, your WordPress form should capture the timestamp of the consent, the version of the privacy policy the user agreed to, and the IP address from which the consent originated. This metadata should be passed into your email service provider as custom fields. Case studies of businesses facing audits have shown that having a verifiable audit trail of consent is the single best defense against litigation or regulatory fines. Beyond the legalities, there is the integration of AI-driven content generation within the WordPress environment. By 2026, many creators are using large language models to assist in drafting their newsletters directly within the WordPress post editor. The technical integration here involves using a plugin that connects your WordPress database to an AI API. This allows the AI to analyze your latest post and automatically generate 3 different subject lines and a 2-paragraph summary tailored for different segments of your list. However, the ethical integration of this technology requires a human-in-the-loop system. You must ensure that your WordPress workflow includes a mandatory manual review step before any AI-generated content is pushed to your email provider. Historical data on AI-generated emails suggests that while they increase efficiency, they can suffer from a lack of emotional resonance if not refined by a human voice. The goal is to use AI as a high-speed drafting tool while maintaining the authentic soul of your brand that we discussed in earlier segments. Let's look at a step-by-step hardening process for your WordPress email bridge. Step 1 is the implementation of an environment variable file, or .env file, for your API keys. Instead of letting your keys live in the WordPress database where they can be accessed by any admin user, you store them at the server level. This requires a slightly more technical setup through your hosting provider's file manager, but it ensures that even if your WordPress database is exported, your email provider remains secure. Step 2 is the use of an activity log plugin on WordPress. This allows you to monitor exactly when and how your email integration settings are changed. If a new admin user is added or an API endpoint is modified, you receive an immediate alert. Step 3 is the integration of a content security policy, or CSP. This is a set of instructions you give to a user's browser that dictates which scripts are allowed to run on your site. By explicitly whitelisting only your email provider's tracking scripts, you prevent unauthorized third-party scripts from siphoning off your user data. Imagine if your site could identify a security threat before it happened. In 2026, we are seeing the rise of AI-driven security firewalls for WordPress that analyze the behavior of your forms. If the firewall detects a bot attempting a credential stuffing attack or a mass subscription attack, it can automatically trigger a CAPTCHA or a temporary block on that IP address, protecting your email list from being flooded with junk data. This is critical because historical trends show that a list filled with bot addresses will destroy your deliverability rates faster than almost any other factor. Your integration must include a server-side validation step that checks for disposable email addresses and suspicious domain names before the data is ever sent to your ESP. But security and privacy aren't just about protection. They are about building a competitive advantage through trust. When a user sees a clear, transparent privacy notice on your WordPress site that explains exactly how their data will be used, and when they see that your site utilizes high-level encryption, their willingness to share their information increases. In an era of deepfakes and data leaks, trust is the primary currency of the digital economy. Your WordPress site is the first place you spend that currency. By integrating a global privacy control signal, you allow users to communicate their privacy preferences automatically through their browser, and your WordPress site should respect those signals by adjusting the tracking scripts it fires. The potential outcomes of this high-security approach are clear. You build a resilient, long-term business that is respected by both your audience and the platforms you use. You aren't just another site on the internet. You are a trusted authority. However, even the most secure and ethical system needs to prove its worth. You have built a fortress and you have populated it with a loyal audience. Now we have to talk about the part everyone has been waiting for, the engine of growth and the mechanics of scaling. How do you take this integrated system and turn it into a revenue-generating machine without sacrificing the trust you have built? How do you move from a list that simply consumes content to a list that actively participates in your business's financial success? And how do you do this using the specific e-commerce and membership integrations available in the WordPress ecosystem today? In the next part, we are going to dive into the high-octane world of monetization integration. We will look at how to sync your email marketing with WooCommerce, how to handle abandoned cart sequences that actually work, and how to use your WordPress site to create exclusive, member-only content that justifies a premium price point. The security is in place, the trust is built, and now it is time to flip the switch on the economic engine of your WordPress empire. The economic engine of your WordPress empire starts with the seamless synchronization of your transactional data and your marketing automation. Imagine a creator named Chloe from Nashville who runs a high-traffic WordPress site offering premium digital templates for architects. In early 2026, Chloe realized that her static email list was a dormant volcano. She had the traffic and she had the subscribers, but her revenue was inconsistent. The breakthrough occurred when she integrated her WooCommerce store with her email service provider using a deep data integration. This wasn't just about sending a receipt. It was about creating a behavioral feedback loop where every purchase, every abandoned cart, and every product view informed the next message the customer received. To build this economic engine, we must first master the technical handshake between WooCommerce and your email platform. In 2026, the standard for professional US-based e-commerce sites is to move beyond simple list syncing and into the realm of event-based triggers. When a customer like Jordan from Denver visits Chloe's site and adds a $500 structural blueprint to his cart but doesn't check out, a specific sequence of events is set in motion within the WordPress database. The WooCommerce plugin records an initiated checkout event. If your integration is correctly configured using a tool like Automate Woo or a dedicated ESP connector, this event is pushed via a webhook to your email platform in real time. Historical trends in 2026 show that an optimized abandoned cart sequence can recover up to 25% of lost revenue. This is not just one email. It is a strategic three-part recovery system. Email 1 should trigger exactly 60 minutes after the cart is abandoned. It is a helpful reminder, often framed as a technical check-in. Did you experience an issue with your checkout? Email 2, sent 24 hours later, introduces social proof, pulling dynamic content from your WordPress testimonial blocks to show Jordan that other architects have seen significant potential outcomes using these templates. Email 3, sent at the 48-hour mark, often includes a time-sensitive incentive, such as a limited-time discount code generated dynamically by WooCommerce. This level of integration requires your WordPress site to be the source of truth, managing the coupon logic while the email platform manages the delivery. But the monetization doesn't stop at recovery. We must look at the post-purchase experience as a vehicle for increasing customer lifetime value. When Jordan finally completes his purchase, his user role in WordPress changes from guest or subscriber to customer. A professional integration uses this role change to trigger a post-purchase nurture sequence. Instead of a generic thank you, Jordan receives a specialized onboarding series. If he bought a blueprint for a commercial building, his WordPress metadata tells the email provider to send him a series on commercial zoning laws and high-end materials. This is cross-selling disguised as high-value education. Case studies from US digital firms indicate that customers who receive relevant post-purchase content are 60% more likely to make a second purchase within 6 months. Furthermore, we must address the integration of membership models and paywalls. Many WordPress creators in 2026 are shifting away from one-off sales and toward recurring revenue using plugins like MemberPress or Restrict Content Pro. The integration challenge here is managing the synchronization of member levels. Imagine if Jordan upgrades to a gold membership on Chloe's site. Your WordPress site must immediately update his tag in the email system to gold member. This ensures that he no longer receives promotional emails for products he already has access to, which is a common point of friction that leads to unsubscribes. Instead, he begins receiving exclusive member-only updates. Technical depth is required here. You should be using a bidirectional sync. This means that if Jordan updates his email address in his WordPress profile, it is automatically updated in your email list. If he cancels his subscription in the Email Preference Center, his access to the premium content on your WordPress site is automatically revoked via the API. This creates a unified user experience where the website and the email list act as a single cohesive entity. To achieve this, you often need a middleware tool like WP Fusion. This plugin acts as a professional-grade translator, mapping your WordPress user metafields to your email provider's custom fields. For example, you can track the date of his last login. If Jordan hasn't logged into the member area in 30 days, the WordPress site triggers a re-engagement email. We noticed you haven't checked out the new 2026 design standards yet. Let's look at the concept of the dynamic paywall. You can use your email integration to create a personalized experience for non-members. If a subscriber who is not yet a member clicks a link in your email to read a premium article, your WordPress site can recognize them through a tracking cookie. Instead of a generic login screen, you can show them a personalized offer. Hey Jordan, as a subscriber, you can get 20% off your first month of Gold membership today. This level of granularity is what separates a viral, high-earning channel from a hobbyist blog. You are using your WordPress site to acknowledge the user's history and relationship with your brand. We also have to consider the role of predictive analytics in monetization. By 2026, some advanced WordPress integrations can calculate a customer's churn probability based on their site activity. If the system sees that a member is visiting the cancellation page or has stopped engaging with your weekly emails, it can trigger a proactive retention sequence. This might include a personal video from the creator or an invitation to a private Q&A session. Historical trends show that it is 5 times more expensive to acquire a new customer than to retain an existing one. Your WordPress email integration is your primary tool for this retention. Now, imagine the power of integrating your inventory levels with your email marketing. If you are selling physical goods or limited-seat workshops on your WordPress site, you can set up a trigger that sends an email to your most engaged segments when stock drops below 10%. This creates a natural, data-driven sense of urgency. The email says only 3 seats left for the Nashville Architecture Workshop, and because the data is pulled directly from your WooCommerce inventory via the API, the information is always accurate. As we move toward the conclusion of this masterclass, it is clear that the integration of email marketing and WordPress is not a one-time setup. It is a continuous process of optimization and scaling. You have built the bridge, secured the fortress, and fired up the economic engine. You are now operating a sophisticated digital business that uses data to provide value and drive growth. But as your list grows into the hundreds of thousands, and your site traffic hits millions of views, the technical challenges change. You move from the challenge of building to the challenge of scaling. How do you maintain this level of personalization when you have 1 million subscribers? How do you ensure your WordPress server doesn't crash under the weight of thousands of simultaneous API calls during a major launch? And what are the emerging technologies in late 2026 that will completely change how we think about the relationship between a CMS and an ESP? In the final part of this masterclass, we are going to look at the future-proofing of your empire. We will talk about headless WordPress architectures, edge computing for email triggers, and the ultimate roadmap for scaling your integrated system to a global audience. The engine is running. Now it is time to see just how fast this machine can go. When you scale your WordPress ecosystem to the level of a global media entity in 2026, you eventually hit the architectural ceiling of traditional hosting. Imagine a creator named Marcus from San Francisco, who has successfully followed every step of this masterclass. Marcus has built a loyal audience of over 1 million subscribers, his deliverability is pristine, and his economic engine is generating significant revenue. However, during a major product launch, his WordPress site experiences a catastrophic slowdown. Thousands of people are hitting his landing pages, and the simultaneous API requests to his email provider are creating a bottleneck that threatens to crash his server. This is the moment where we move from standard integration to the high-performance world of headless WordPress and edge computing. In 2026, the elite tier of WordPress sites utilizes a headless architecture to decouple the front end from the back end. In this setup, WordPress acts solely as a content management system and a database for your email subscribers, while the front end that users see is built using a high-performance framework like Next.js or React. The technical benefit of this integration is immense. Instead of the server having to load the entire WordPress core every time a user visits a sign-up form, the form is served as a static asset. When a user named Sophia from New York enters her email, the data is sent directly to an edge function, a small piece of code that runs on a server physically close to her location, such as a Cloudflare worker or a Vercel function. This edge function acts as a lightning-fast intermediary. It validates Sophia's email address, checks it against your WordPress database via a secure REST API call, and simultaneously pushes the data to your email service provider. Because this happens at the edge of the network, the latency is reduced from hundreds of milliseconds to nearly zero. Historical trends in web performance benchmarks from 2025 and 2026 show that these headless integrations can handle 10 times the traffic of a traditional WordPress setup, with half the server resources. For Marcus, this means his site remains responsive even when 50,000 people are trying to sign up at the exact same moment. To implement this level of scaling, You must master the WordPress REST API in GraphQL. Instead of relying on a plugin to render your forms, you are building custom endpoints. You configure your WordPress site to accept authenticated requests from your headless frontend, ensuring that your subscriber data remains secure while being accessible for real-time personalization. Imagine if Sophia visits Marcus's site, and because the headless frontend is so fast, it can query her subscriber profile in the background. Before the page even finishes loading, the site knows she is a gold member and dynamically hides the introductory sign-up forms, replacing them with a personalized welcome message and a link to the latest exclusive content. This is the peak of the user experience we have been building toward. However, scaling also requires a deep dive into database optimization. When your WP_users and WP_user meta tables grow into the millions of rows, standard WordPress queries can become sluggish. In 2026, professional integrations utilize advanced indexing and object caching through Redis or Memcached. By caching the results of your most frequent email-related queries, you reduce the load on your MySQL database. Case studies from large-scale US news platforms indicate that implementing object caching for subscriber metadata can improve site load times by up to 40% during peak traffic periods. You are essentially ensuring that the brain of your machine, which we built in Part 5, can think faster as it grows larger. We also have to discuss the global scaling of your privacy and compliance infrastructure. As you reach a global audience, your WordPress integration must be intelligent enough to handle different legal requirements in real time. By utilizing GeoIP integration, your site can detect if a user is visiting from the European Union, California, or any other region with specific data laws. The integration then dynamically adjusts the opt-in process. For Sophia in New York, it might show a CCPA-compliant notice, while for a user in Berlin, it automatically switches to a strict double opt-in with a GDPR-compliant consent log. This level of automated compliance is what protects your empire from the legal risks associated with international expansion. Beyond the technical architecture, the future of WordPress email integration in late 2026 is being shaped by local AI models running on your server. While we previously discussed using AI for drafting, the next frontier is real-time behavioral prediction. Imagine a system where Marcus's WordPress site uses a lightweight, server-side AI model to analyze a user's browsing pattern. If the model predicts a high probability of conversion based on the user's interaction with specific blocks of content, it can trigger a hyper-personalized, one-time offer that is generated on the fly. This is not a pre-written automation. It is a unique interaction created for that specific user at that specific micro-moment. The potential outcomes of this hyper-personalization include a significant decrease in cost per acquisition, as your site becomes more efficient at converting every unit of traffic. As we bring this 10-part masterclass to its conclusion, let's review the roadmap you have traversed. You began by establishing a secure, legal, and strategic foundation. You built the technical bridge with API keys and SMTP delivery to ensure your voice was heard. You optimized your site with high-conversion redirects and the eyes of advanced analytics to understand your audience. You built a house of retention through automated nurture sequences and secured it with the latest in digital protocols. You ignited the economic engine by syncing your commerce and membership data. And finally, you have looked into the future of headless architecture and edge computing to scale your vision to the world. This is the ultimate framework for 2026. You are no longer just a person with a blog. You are the architect of a sophisticated, integrated, and resilient digital presence. The journey from a single sign-up form to a global AI-enhanced, headless ecosystem is one of constant learning and refinement. The historical trends show that those who take the time to master these deep-level integrations are the ones who thrive regardless of how the algorithms change. You own your data, you own your audience, and you own your future. But remember, the technology is only a tool for the human connection. All the API calls, edge functions, and database optimizations in the world cannot replace the value you provide to your subscribers. Your WordPress site is the vessel, but your expertise is the fuel. As you move forward, keep testing, keep optimizing, and keep listening to the data. The machine you have built is ready. It is powerful, it is secure, and it is scalable. While this concludes our deep dive masterclass on the integration of email marketing and WordPress, it is only the beginning of your implementation phase. The true experts are those who take these technical blueprints and build something unique. We have covered the how, the why, and the what. Now the execution is in your hands. As you start to see the results in your own dashboard, you will realize that the time invested in this deep-level integration was the single best move you could have made for your brand's longevity and impact. The horizon of 2026 and beyond is wide open for those who are prepared. We have explored the architecture of the future. But what happens when you need to integrate this entire system with the burgeoning world of decentralized web protocols and sovereign identity? How do you prepare your WordPress list for the shift toward Web3 and the possibility of audience ownership on the blockchain? The conversation about digital ownership is just getting started, and in our next series, we will dive into the intersection of WordPress and the decentralized future. Your empire is built, but the world is still changing, and we will be there to make sure you are always at the forefront of the integration revolution.